This morning is really special to myself and Pastor Jen and Pastor Evan, who is on sabbatical right now. Woot woot. We love that for him. We get to work with these young people all the time. Pastor Jen is the children's pastor, I'm the high school youth pastor, Evan's the middle school youth pastor, and the youth, I'll just say youth, right, 0 to 18. The youth in our church are really awesome. They are phenomenal people, and we don't always get to...
Yeah.
I thought that, yeah. I definitely thought that was that table of youth clapping for themselves. That's why I was like, wait a second. Yeah, they're really phenomenal. So we want to just let you into our world a little bit. We've been in a series called Analog Church, talking about how do we get back to the basics in a digital world? How do we really plug into real relationships and real places in real time? And this morning is going off of that theme. Our ministries really are analog places. And that's especially important as we press into the younger generation, right? Things get more and more digital as we get younger. And so we want to be places where there are real people, real places, real relationships. So we're going to share a little bit about our vision with you on how we accomplish that.
Yeah, so a temptation for us as pastors, I'm not on, and that's okay. This happened earlier this morning if you were here. No? I know I'm on. My battery pack's on. Check, check. Check, check. Should I just go on to a handheld? Hey! Oh, I don't know. Can you hold this for a second?
Yeah.
This is what happens in kids ministry. You have to just wing it and go for it. So here we are. We're going to wing it and go for it.
I told Jen, wait, why am I using this? Hello? Okay, I told Jen this morning that we were going to get real loosey-goosey up here, right, real informal, and this is part of it.
This is part of it.
Hey.
This is God's way of helping me to get loosey-goosey. So, back to what I was saying, a temptation for us as youth and children's pastors is that we think our ministries need to be more like Disney than Mr. Rogers. Do you already have images in your mind? Yeah. The two kingdoms they built were a result of two visions of the world. Walt's world was perfect, a perfect version of what our world should look like. His world is shiny. Shiny songs playing everywhere. Every restaurant serves chicken strips and hot dogs. Never any dust, never chipped paint. Excellence and creativity abound. Walt created a world that was an escape from the real world. Fred's world was simple, even plain. His puppets showed wear, and his set grew old along with Fred. Mr. Rogers lived in a neighborhood and showed kids how to navigate through the real world. Both worlds are important. We need them both. We need both kinds of churches in this world. I've been at McBick for 4 years now, and McBick is unlike any church I have ever been a part of. We keep the important things important. We are truly a Mr. Rogers church. Walt Disney cared about connecting kids to fun, to entertain them. Mr. Rogers was different. He didn't distract kids from the pain and questions that were making them sad or scared. He looked into the camera and spoke from his heart to theirs. Mr. Rogers famously said, "Anything that's human is mentionable, and anything that is mentionable can be more manageable." When we talk about our feelings, they become less overwhelming, less upsetting, and less scary. The people we trust with that important talk can help us know that we are not alone. Kids don't need to be entertained as much as they need to be loved and listened to. That's the value we hold in our kids and student ministries. We want to make sure every child and teen is loved and heard. We want them to know that we care more about who they are becoming in Christ than with how many we have on a Sunday or a Wednesday. So how do we do that? Relationships. Relationships are crucial for us, and we want to give you a peek into what that looks like from nursery all the way to high school. I want to leave you with this one last Mr. Rogers quote. From the time you were very little, you've had people who have smiled you into smiling. People have talked you into talking, sung you into singing, and loved you into loving. Let's take some time to think of those extra special people.
Yeah. So everything we do in these ministries is built off of relationships. And the reason we do that is because we want every person in this room, young or old, to have a real relationship with Jesus, right? It's not enough to just know about Jesus or even know him loosely. We have to enter into real relationships. So the only space where students and young people are going to ask these hard questions or bring their difficulties inside the building, which we want, you're allowed to bring them in here, right? The only way they're going to do that is if they feel like they've built some sort of real relationship with the people caring for them. And so we wanted to take a moment. We're going to later show you some of these relationships through 0 to 18 years old. But we wanted to take, let's do like 3 minutes, all right? And I want you to talk at your tables about what it looked like when you were young. If you were at church, what did ministry look like to you, okay? And were there adults in your life who poured into you, who built relationships with you specifically? Who were some of those people, okay? So the questions are, what did ministry to you look like when you were young? And if you weren't in the church, maybe there was someone outside of the church, a coach, a teacher that poured into you. And who were some of those people? All right, we're going to get a little nostalgic in the room, all right? So take the next 3 minutes. We'll call you back here with another trick of some kind, and share with some people around you who those people were for you.
We are going to shift gears. I hope it was a meaningful time for you to just reflect on the important people that have impacted your life. If they are still living, I encourage you to call them, write them a note, reach out to them if you still can, because those things matter. People, I think, sometimes forget the impact that they have. So I have the privilege of interviewing our preschool team. This team also hangs out on Wednesday nights together because our 3 girls are in 6th grade, and then Leah Connor also leads them in 6th grade. But all of these girls and Leah serve in preschool and nursery ministry. So we're going to get a sneak peek into what relationships look like in that ministry. So as we start, please introduce yourself, your name, your school, and why you wanted to serve in kids ministry.
I'm Noelle. I go to the Mechanicsburg Middle School. I want to serve the kids ministry because I like working with kids and I wanted to help out. I also met amazing kids when I was helping out.
Awesome.
I'm Ellie Slaybaugh, and I go to Northern Middle School. I want to help because I thought it would be fun to teach the kids about Jesus and meet them.
Awesome.
I'm Hannah Stauffer. I go to Mechanicsburg Middle School, and I wanted to work with kids because I feel like just being with them and helping them make relationships will help them with their lives and learning more about Jesus.
Awesome.
I'm Leah Connor. I went to Dallastown in New York. That helped you? Yes, yeah. So I wanted to plug into the church. We were newer to the church, and so I started talking with some of the pastors, and they recommended children's ministry as a good way to plug in. And I love that age group and really think they're important to pour into, so I've really enjoyed it.
Awesome. Thank you all. Thank you so much for serving and for pouring into our kids. I know it's hard work sometimes, so thank you so much. So everyone just heard about Disney and Mr. Rogers. I think we have those 2 visions of our world in our head now. So obviously with toddlers and preschoolers, being more Mr. Rogers than Disney is going to look a bit different. So what does it look like for you to show love and listen to the kids you are with on Sunday mornings? And then how do you build relationships? What does that look like? So Noelle, you want to go first?
I talk to them and find out what they like or are interested in, and I play with them.
Yeah, similar to Noelle, I just kind of get down into their level and kind of listen to their stories and stuff that they tell us.
Great. Do you have any specific story you could share? A funny one maybe?
Not necessarily, but there is one kid who is just like really good at coloring, and so when he shows me his work, I'm like, oh, that's really cool. I like to color too, and then we can kind of connect through that.
Yeah, great. So as you can hear, right, even as preschoolers, we're pointing out the gifts that they have, the gifts that God has given them, and how important that is at such a young age. Hannah.
Yeah, kind of what they said, but like instead of like thinking about me, it's like kind of about them, because just helping them to like build relationships with others by just like being with them and just, yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
When I'm teaching in the group, I think I can show love and connection by being really flexible with the schedule. Like, there are really cool activities that are planned for Sunday, and I'd love to get through them all. But sometimes we'll be in small group, and I'll say, does anybody want to pray? And if 4 3-year-olds raise their hand that they want to pray, you bet I'm going to let every single one of them pray. Even if it trails off onto a story about something that happened in their morning, I'm happy to let them connect with Jesus and let them have that time. And I think it really helps to connect and build that relationship by asking questions and trying to remember the next time, or noticing that they really like playing a certain way and doing that same sort of game the next time so they feel comfortable.
Awesome. So as you can see, relationships are crucial to what we do, and the consistency of those relationships are really important. So we talked about some of the positive things. So what are the challenges you all have in trying to build relationships or in serving and nursery and preschool ministry?
Like, not really, because I have 2 younger brothers, and one of them is in the class I help out with. But I was also nervous the first time, since I wasn't sure like what to expect, like how much energy they would have.
Yeah.
Yeah, straight up.
There can be a lot of energy.
For me, it's more like they like to play with each other a lot, and they're not really going to build relationships like just by reading a Bible story and then they just go back to their snack and playing or whatever, but kind of like entering their world and like listening to them, and instead of like them coming to us.
Yeah, it's great. It's beautiful.
So I'm like the youngest, so I don't really like have a younger sibling. So I didn't really know how to, I don't know. Like, I've been with younger kids, but like kind of just like really build relationships was kind of hard, because like I'm usually like the youngest.
Yeah, you're the youngest. Yeah. Has that gotten, sorry, can I ask a follow-up question? Has that gotten easier? Great.
Yeah. I think it's a challenge just to get to know their individual personalities, and that's helped as the year has gone through. Like, some kids really connect by talking, and they can talk the whole time. You don't even have to ask questions, and that's great, and I get to learn so much about them and connect that way. But some children, they would love if you just read with them in the corner and give them that individual attention, and some children, you can connect with them really well by playing freeze tag and running all around the room, and that's how you build a good connection and relationship with them.
Yeah, that's great. So as you can kind of hear, we're trying to meet your children, meet your grandchildren, meet our kids of McBick exactly where they are and who God created them to be. So my last question doesn't really involve preschool, because Leah, as I mentioned, and her husband Brad are the 6th grade small group leaders on Wednesday nights, and these girls are all 6th graders, as you heard. So we want to just have them share a little bit about middle school ministry. So what's it like to have Leah and Brad and all the other leaders that are part, and then what is it like for you all to then be a part and to serve?
Good, because like I have someone to talk to, and I can ask questions to, like, about God and things in general, and I feel like I can be myself.
Awesome. Did you hear that? I can be myself. Right? In our world, there's not a lot of places where our kids, our students get to be themselves. It's great.
Yeah, I like about Leah is that she like shares stories with us, and so we can kind of get to know her more, and she finds time out of youth group that we can get together and like get to know each other better.
Awesome. What are some things you've done, like one thing you've done outside of Wednesday nights?
One time we like met at her house and we like decorated cupcakes and watched a movie like towards the beginning of the year, and that was really fun.
Awesome. All right, so you can hear it, right? It's not just Wednesday nights. Our leaders are also pouring so much into during the week, and those connections and hanging out, making cupcakes and watching a movie, right? So fun.
Yeah, just like because of that, I feel like she really cares about us, and that like we don't have to be someone else at youth group. We can just like be ourselves. And
It's great.
So leading this group is so cool. They're really an awesome group. I'm not just saying that because they're next to me. I really think that all the time. So we have one of the larger groups, so we've had as many as 11 girls in our group, and they really care about each other. So if somebody is running late or isn't there, they're like, did you see her yet? Do you know if she was at school? Oh, I heard she was sick. Like, they're looking out for each other, and you guys really care for each other, and I've seen them help each other and really comfort each other through hard situations. Just hard things are going on at school, hard things are going on at home, and I've just seen them come alongside each other and really talk and encourage each other and be really vulnerable. And I really appreciate that they just are good friends.
That's awesome. Can we give everybody a round of applause? I'm going to have the Petty family come on up. Thank you, girls. Thanks, Leah. All right. So for our elementary section, Pastors Cody and Cindy and I, as we were planning our time, thought it would be important to hear from parents, to hear from kind of the opposite side of, so we heard some from leaders, and so now we're going to hear from some parents and some kids. So this is the Petty family. They're going to make their way on up. You all can have, yep. Seat. Great. Awesome. There you go. Great. All right. So just introduce yourselves and how long you've been at McBick and all those things.
Oh, yeah, we're the Petties. My name's Kyle. This is Harmony. This is Everett, who is almost 7. Ainsley, who is 5. And Max, who is 2. And we've been attending McBick for 5 years now.
Awesome. Great. So my first question is, for the last couple of years, you have had children in each phase of kids ministry, which I just love. So nursery, preschool, and elementary. And so what have you appreciated about kind of they're different, right? They all kind of have their different thing, but what have you appreciated about the differences within those ministries?
Yeah, so when we started attending 5 years ago, Everett was still kind of just at the end of that nursery phase. So it really was, our kids have been able to grow through all the, now going into elementary. So seeing those different areas of our children's ministry has been great. As we thought about this, we really thought that the word that kept coming up was foundational. These different ministries are all unique, but they all are driving at building a foundation that we've seen in our kids. If anything, just when we started coming here, it was foundational for us and our kids that in the nursery they were safe, that we could have a place to take them, that we felt safe with them, that they were there, but also that our kids felt safe, because that was the start of their journey here. And knowing that they could be at a place that they knew at the beginning was safe, and of course fun, but that they really weren't going to have fun until they knew they were safe. As they got into the preschool and ministries, we saw, they really were learning a lot, just really foundational in the sense of building that knowledge, that it develops into the heart, but really it's just, these are stories that we're teaching at home, but also getting ingrained with someone who's not your parents is very, very important, and being able to see those, not just the stories, but the character qualities of Jesus and the people in the Bible has just been important for our kids to learn outside of just our home. And then, of course, seeing in elementary school, I think it's been really great just to see how much it's starting to be foundational to themselves. So Everett, and just making it more his own. It's been unique to see how he's grown in that area of just not just what he knows, but how can he apply it.
Yeah, it's great. Those are everything I think we hope for as leaders, is that's what we want to hear and what we want for your kids. So thank you. I just want to give a shout out. Miss Aubrey is in the back. I think she was in that room with all 3 of your kids. And so just shout out to Miss Aubrey. Because that's just super important, right? When you talk about the safety, like it wouldn't be safe if it wasn't for consistent leaders. And so like Miss Aubrey has been in that nursery forever. And so just want to give thanks to her. So relationships are key. We have heard that, how our ministries are shaped and formed. So how have you seen that played out for your kids? How have you seen the relational component?
Yeah, so I would say, are you coming, buddy? Checking things out? No, I would say, as we were thinking about this together, just the whole vibe that I feel like the children's ministry gives off is just very genuine, authentic, and that comes through their connections and their relationships. And just appreciating that it feels just kind of like what we're talking about analog church. It just feels like it's meaningful, and that the leaders have poured into our kids, and that they also see them as just whole people. They're not just, they are children, but also they're whole people who can talk about faith and engage deeply and meaningfully has been huge. We were reflecting on just some little stories. We came to the Maundy Thursday pizza gathering and just reflecting on sitting at a table with people and getting to talk about some pretty, deep things as we think about Christ and his sacrifice for us. And some women at the table were able to pray with one of our kids. It was just a very heartfelt moment for us as parents to see how people, even outside of children's ministry, were valuing our kids and their unique maybe struggles in life, and praying for them really authentically meant a lot. I think that's all I had to say there.
Yeah, that's great. I just know this because we moved Max up from the nursery into the 2-year-olds right before Christmas, and our leaders were getting individual Christmas gifts for their kids. And Max was just like, I don't know, in there for 2 weeks. And he loves Thomas the Tank Engine, and they made sure that they got him a Thomas toy. So in 2 weeks, they sort of somewhat knew what he liked and what he didn't like and what he would love. And so I just love that already, the relationships that were being formed there. So is there anything else as we close? Is there anything else you all would like to say as we wrap up?
Yeah, I'll say one more thing. I think one of the things that drew us to McBick and what we loved about it was the culture here with just the caring between people, the genuine striving to be like Jesus, and we just see that reflected through our kids' ministry, and I think that is something that what we loved about it from the adult perspective, we see coming through with our kids' ministry, which makes us love that even all the more.
Yeah,
So,
and I would thank you. I would just add, this other week I was looking through our journal entry I had written whenever it was just a month old, and we were kind of processing maybe looking for a new church family, and just part of that prayer as I was praying for that was that it would be a place as we're having kids that we would feel just really confident that they would be in a community where they will be around loving people that will encourage them in their walk, and just really seeing that come to fruition in all of these stages is just really neat. So. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, so thanks to all the teachers out there who are helping with our kids. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Petty family. You guys are awesome. You can have a seat. That's okay. I'm used to that. Is Cody, are you used to drool? Is that
usually
a thing?
I'm the one drooling on the mic, I think. So I'm going to invite Caitlin Miller up. We're going to transition into hearing from some teenagers. Well, we've already heard some. Caitlin is a 10th grader who serves in a couple different areas, and one of the things that I love about building relationships with young people is when you have a relationship with someone, it allows you to kind of push them a little bit, and I'm pushing Caitlin out of her comfort zone a little bit to be speaking in front of everybody, but because we built that relationship, hopefully this is okay. Yeah, it's all right. She's like being forced to say that. So Caitlin, can you share a little bit about where you serve in the church and what's your favorite part of those ministries?
So I help in the infants and 1-year-olds every Sunday morning, and I help with the 6th graders on Wednesday evenings. And one of my favorite parts is just seeing the growth and relationship that they make. So I love over the year, the 6th graders, I've just seen them grow so much and make a connection and bond a lot, so I love watching that over the year.
Yeah, and what made that decision for you initially when you were like, I'm going to become a middle school leader? There's a time commitment there, there's an emotional, spiritual commitment there. What went into that decision for you, and why did you end up saying yes to that?
So ever since I was in middle school, I've always I thought it was so cool how the teen leaders moved with the middle schoolers, so I was like, oh, that'd be so cool if I could do that. So then at the beginning of or the end of last year, I was like, I should look into that and see what it'd be like. So then I asked Evan about it. And so I don't think I realized how much of a commitment it was when I first started, but I'm very grateful that I did. And it's been really cool to do.
Yeah. So talk to me a little bit about that, because I love that you said that. Like, when we enter into relationships with anybody of any age, it often feels like more of a commitment than we maybe thought at first. What are some of the things that go into that commitment for you? What do you invest? What do you give in that space?
Yeah, so like every week you spend a few hours at the church, so that's a lot in itself. Spending time outside of the youth, like they said, like hanging out, doing cupcakes, that kind of stuff. And then just like praying and always being there. So like it's a lot to have to think about, but like it's really good and cool.
Yeah. How many people can kind of relate to that? Making that transition from someone who is poured into to then, oh, now I'm the one giving, I'm the one praying. It can be tough sometimes, but it's really sweet that you said yes to that. Let's talk a little bit about, have you had older students pouring into you in the past, and what did that mean to you? Because here at McBick, we have high school students serve in the middle school, but you have to reach out to Evan. It's on your initiation. And so have you had older students who've been pouring into you over the years?
Yeah. I didn't have, when I was in middle school, I didn't have like a consistent teen leader, so it hasn't been consistent, but the ones that I did have, it's been really cool because it's almost like you're learning together. Like they're not like super high above you, so it's not
old,
like
super old. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
But yeah, it's cool because you're like closer in age and you can kind of connect on a deeper level that way.
Yeah. Okay. Lastly, can you describe an experience from middle school ministry when you were in it? Think back, 2-3 years ago, a long time. That was valuable to your spiritual growth.
There's not like a specific time, but definitely the retreats were really good for that. I don't know, they were just, like they were kind of saying before, like in elementary, preschool, that kind of things, you're kind of building the foundation of your faith. And then once I got to middle school, it was kind of like taking that further and then like making a relationship out of that. So I feel like middle school youth is a really good time to kind of take the foundation that you have in your faith and start a relationship with God.
Yeah, which is so cool to hear, right? When you think of a middle schooler, what do you think, right? Many of us think different things. I work at the middle school, like directing the musical. Some days I leave there and I'm like, oh my gosh, like I forgot what middle schoolers were like. And then occasionally we're at middle school youth and you hear Caitlin say, like, that's where I started to make my relationship with Jesus real. Like, that's cool. There's depth there that we sometimes don't always see when they're like chugging Mountain Dews and running like crazy. But that exists and that's happening on the inside. So we value that a lot. Thanks, Caitlin, for being up here. Let's give Caitlin a round of applause. That's a win. That's a huge win. It's amazing. Way to go, Caitlin. You rock. Okay, next I'm going to call up Mr. and Mrs. Holiday, Matt and Tracy, Eden King, Benjamin Wenger. Come on up. Wherever you'd like. I'm going here.
Should I run around in circles?
Yeah, you can. Okay, so this is Matt and Tracy Holiday. They've been serving in student ministry for a long time with us. They are now with the junior and senior class. Ben Wenger is a junior, about to be a senior. Miss Eden King, senior that just graduated. So they've been with these students. And one thing that, when we first started thinking about this morning, it's impossible to really capture the depth of relationship that is built over time in these ministries. But I asked these folks here because whether we completely capture it and transfer it to you today or not, these people are obsessed with each other. They love each other. And a big reason is because the Holidays have spent a lot of time and investment pouring into them. So we're going to try to capture that a little bit here and share. So for Matt and Tracy, where I want you to start is, why did you decide to enter into youth ministry? You started back with sixth graders, right? Again, sixth graders. Leah Connor, come on, let's go. So why did you decide that you wanted to invest and do that?
Well, initially when I was approached for sixth grade girls, I was not interested at all. First of all, they were in sixth grade, and second of all, they were girls, and I had a boy. But then I started thinking about the individuals that poured into our son and how extremely important that was. Shout out to DB and Mark Swartz for that. And I just thought and I felt very unprepared, but I thought if I could give just a portion of that to someone else, that I needed to do it.
Yeah, that's awesome. What about for you, Matt?
The church we were at before we came here, I was a second grade Sunday school leader, teacher, or whatever, and I thought, how different could it be? Second grade. Of course, I had somebody else with me at all times with the second graders at that church because they knew me there too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd like to think
Yeah.
Benjamin's a little more mature than a second grader, but
we're
we're
getting
getting there.
but sixth graders,
Working on it.
sixth graders have their moments of being
Yeah.
free and
Yeah.
happy.
And for the two of you, what is your favorite part about? You said yes. You entered in sixth grade. You've been doing it for over 6 years now. What's your favorite part?
So Thursday at 10:30 in the evening, I get a text from this one that says, "I just read this book. It really moved me this way, but I have struggles with it this way. How is it for you?" At 10:30 at night. No good evening, no how you doing, no hey, hiya. And then he says, "I'm sorry I didn't have a preamble to that." And I'm there like, well, the relationship is built so you don't have to. You can just say, "Hey, what about this?"
Yeah.
And just watching these girls, I'll speak to that, just build that relationship with each other and with God. I have seen them be so intentional in building those relationships that it is just really, truly mind-blowing.
Yeah.
They're just absolutely incredible.
Yeah. Cool. All right, let's transition over to Eden, to Benjamin a little bit. We are going to brag on the holidays a little bit here, right, because they're wonderful people. So my first question to you guys is, what's a favorite memory that comes to your mind or an impactful memory when it comes to your relationship with Mr. and Mrs.?
Okay, so I have many memories, but one I thought of right away was pretty recently, maybe a month or 2 or 3 ago, where after youth group one night, we were all like doing races in the back hallway, like where some of the Sunday school meet, I guess, and I don't know, we had all sorts of people running down. We were cheering. It was really a great time. And then Mr. and Mrs. Holiday come down. We were like, oh my gosh, you should totally race too, because why not? And I think most people, I think a lot of maybe older people, adults would say like, no, like you kids, like you do that. That's good for you. But they were just like, oh yeah, why not? And they ran down that hallway. And they skipped together. It was very cute. They like went out the door. We thought they were gonna leave forever, but they did come back and they came back. And it just like, to me, that's just something that not every adult would do that, and maybe it was uncomfortable. I know it was uncomfortable, but it was so fun, and it just meant like we're all doing this together. It's fun, and they joined in on our fun. And that was sweet.
And as Jen shared earlier, like building relationships really is about going to the person, right? You can't always expect like, oh, I want to start this relationship. Meet me at this place at this time because it fits my schedule. Like sometimes it's about getting to where they are physically and emotionally and maturity-wise, right? So sometimes it's skipping down a hallway because all the kids are skipping down the hallway and you want to build that relationship. It's about going to people and investing in that way. It's cool. How about for you, Benjamin? A favorite or one of your favorite memories?
I think I have lots of like silly memories from the holidays, just doing ridiculous stuff. I also have lots of really cool, like, deep memories. One time, like, after the missions trip last year, or service trip, I went to the holidays because I came home and I was just kind of overwhelmed with all the things I'd been thinking about on the trip. And, you know, like, I'd been putting all these expectations on myself, and I went to the holidays and I was like, okay, here's what's going on. Like, I'm just feeling overwhelmed and, like, I'm in my head about things, and I really love that I can just talk with them about anything, and they really kind of helped me to put things in perspective and relax some of the expectations I've been putting on myself, which was really helpful. So I really love that I can just have deep conversations with them pretty much whenever, or text Matt at 10:30 at night about a book I read this week, or you know, whatever comes to mind. It's just really nice that they're always available for me, and they're always willing to invest in me and pour themselves into me.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, go for it.
I told Mark Schwartz, I'd point him out. We would have our son would come home from youth and say, you know, Mr. Schwartz, Mark said, blah, 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 which is stuff we've been trying to get into him for the last 2 years. But since Mark said it, it was important. And for all of you that get get that from us maybe or some other youth leader or children's leader. It's universal. So if you have something you really want to get into your kids, tell your youth leader and they can fit it in.
It's part of the beauty of mentorship, right? You're going to learn something different from a mentor than you are your parents. And both are going to teach you a lot.
You'll hear it differently.
Yes, you'll hear it differently. Okay, cool. So let me ask for Eden and Benjamin, how, if you can sum this up, how have these two and your other leaders helped you grow spiritually into the people you are today?
In so many ways, and I could definitely talk a lot about that. But when I was thinking about this question, I thought a lot about how honest, especially Mrs. Holiday, is to me, because we're together a lot, and never have I ever felt like she came and she was like, I'm the perfect Christian and I do this all right and let me just tell you how to do it. Whenever we've had conversations, she's always said yeah, I struggle on that way too. Here's how I've tried to deal with it, or how I'm wanting to deal with it. Maybe we can do it together. And that has meant a lot, because when I'm struggling or when I make mistakes, I don't think oh, there's something wrong with me, because yeah, there's something wrong with me, but so there's something wrong with all of us. Yeah. And even this old person that older person, I'm so sorry.
The ER is really critical.
Older,
there.
Sorry.
Older.
It was just a joke. Okay. This old person. I say that more. It's just different when it's everybody hearing, I guess. So sorry, guys.
Good job.
Okay, this older person. You play the old card a lot. She does. That's what I'm saying. I didn't just say that, but it's okay. But this older person in my life also makes mistakes, and I know that, and I still see her as an amazing woman of God and someone that I look up to, and so I can make mistakes and also be an amazing woman of God too.
Yeah, let's go. So good. How about for you, Benjamin?
I think I really enjoy the depth that Matt and Tracy go to, and that they're willing to be themselves around me, and not just try to put on a facade oh, I'm at youth group, now I have to be all spiritual for the kids. They're willing to make a fool of themselves or just have a conversation, and I think that's something I've really appreciated, because that's not always what my experience has been. Especially when I've come to church, I felt like I need to put on the whole I'm a good person, I follow Jesus and I pray every day and I read my Bible and I blah blah blah. But I think the holidays have helped me to realize, it doesn't need to be that way. I can be real. I can be myself, and they're gonna love me either way. So it's not I need to pretend to be this great person who's got it all together, because I don't.
Yeah. The sweet thing is Jesus wants the real version of us. He knows us anyway. So there's never any need to put on something for Jesus, because he can see right through it. And so when we have people in our lives who can embody that, wow, I actually feel safe here. I don't have to pretend to have these things together. We can just move towards Jesus together, flaws and all. That is a earthly representation of how God cares for us anyway. And so it's really, really special when we have that. So I just want to say thank you to the holidays for what you've invested in all of the leaders I've ever worked with. Thank you. And also a big thank you to the students who choose that mentorship, hey, I have this resource here and I'm going to utilize it. We're going to go to Dairy Queen. They might even pay for me, right? Utilize it. I'm going to take what I can take from these people who are wanting to give it. And so thank you to the students as well. Let's give these guys a round of applause. Big round of applause. Thank you to you all. You can head out. We're going to move into a time of worship led by some of our students. No, it's okay. You can leave them. My encouragement, I know that sometimes if we're not people who have young people, we don't have kids or grandkids or people in these ministries, it might not seem like this affects us as much. It's oh, that's good to hear, right? It's nice to hear people share stories. But from me, as I sit here and listen to these stories, I want to challenge all of us, no matter what age we are, to really find those deep, real relationships with people where we can be ourselves. And maybe that's a peer, Or maybe that's somebody older than you who can mentor you. I always say, like, why does mentorship stop when, like, we graduate high school? Like, I'm 32. I need a mentor. I need help, right? I need someone who's been there. There's almost always someone older than you. I guess not if you're the oldest in this room, right? But there's almost always someone who's been there and can share with you in a very real way. So that's my challenge to us as a body, is take advantage of what we do try to offer here at McBick, which is, hey, this is who we are, and this is where we're at. Let's build relationship. Let's love each other as we move towards Jesus. So this space is ours to worship in. Things already look differently, so please don't hesitate if you want to move around, if you want to spread out a bit, if you want to find a space in the room that feels the best for you for worshiping. If you want to pull someone and say, hey, I'd really like to pray over this thing. Will you pray for me, or can I pray for you? We're going to spend the next 10 to 15 minutes worshiping in that space, and then we'll close after that. So let me pray, and then I'll turn it over to the student band. Jesus, thank you so much for who you are and for being a God who loves us authentically. We pray that there would be people in our lives who can meet us on that real, honest level, and that we could be that for other people. That we might look up to people and find mentors, and also reach down and say, who can I pour into and love and help through this season of life, no matter where they're at. Thank you for being a God that sees all of us and still loves us. In your name we pray. Amen.